kiss for you.
Just Gems is a series where I highlight various games across the indie and AAA sphere that I feel like got overlooked, either due to their early access launch or their release window being caught between a bunch of other titles, to even just the launch day of the game maybe not being in the best shape, but the devs kept on the horse and made it better. There's a lot of reasons why people don't necessarily get into a game, and I'm here to highlight why they should really give these games a second look. Today we're looking at Paper Trail, and I think a lot of the time it becomes pretty obvious when you're playing something that's gonna be the top in its genre, whether it be a new Mario game for platformers, a new Zelda game for action-adventure series, a new game from Naughty Dog for cinematic storytelling. These games really are defined by when you play them and how good they are in their genre. And Paper Trail absolutely is one of these examples of a phenomenal puzzle game. Paper Trail's main claim to fame in terms of its puzzle quality is the folding ideas and the origami nature of it. You have this area that you effectively fold over on itself to be able to get across to the other side. So if you want to categorize these puzzles, they're get to the other side kind of puzzles. And obviously you'll be met with like a bog or a lake or a river or some kind of thing that's in your way, sticks, something like that. And you'll have to use the reverse side of whatever you're doing and fold it over onto itself to be able to get past these things. And at the start, it's pretty simple. As you can see, you're just kind of folding over things in one area or another area to make them overlap to go through it. There's these origami extra challenges you can do. So like once you do the first thing, there's a different way to do it to be able to also get the little origami thing. Those are like collectibles. And that's kind of where it starts off with originally, right? You have this art that you have to basically go through. Once you complete a certain number of those, effectively the level or the area you're in, you'll talk to a couple people, and then you'll get this story segment that is basically just a narration with voice acting, talking about whatever that character is going through. You do some little folding activities, and then it moves on to the next one. That's kind of the structure of the game. What really makes it interesting is beyond the initial parts where you're folding stuff, it then starts to introduce more typical puzzle game things, right? Moving statues, clicking switches, moving platforms and statues, circuit puzzles, that kind of thing. But it always is within this idea of being able to fold different things. So it's like, okay, I have to get the statue. And what's really nice about the folding way that it works is you cannot fold something that's on top of you. So if you're in the way of the fold, you're not going to be able to move it. So you really have to figure out, like, okay, how do I move out of the way and then fold or unfold these things to get by? This also affects things like statues and other kind of large objects. So if a statue is in the way and you're trying to fold it, you can't go past the statue. And so there's this really creative things that end up happening where you have to kind of figure out, okay, I can't go beyond a certain point because I'm in the way, and I can't fold it on the other side because the statue's in the way. So you have to figure out, okay, can I move the statue? Can I like put the statue on a pillar of some kind and have it move back and forth? And that way I can unfold and refold. And there's a lot of that. And it's really nice because it does take a while. A lot of these puzzles later on are quite challenging because you have to think about, okay, what do I have to do first, and then second, and third? And so to me, especially as someone that necessarily doesn't love a lot of puzzle games for the tedium they can endure, this game did really alleviate a lot of those issues because of what you have access to. A lot of the time, these puzzles are relatively simple. It's just figuring out how to get to that solution. And you can also tell that by, you can click X at any time and it shows you like a little pop-up that's like a help guide, and you can basically scroll through the different folds you have to do to accomplish your goal. It does not tell you how to move things like statues or lines or stuff. What it does do is show you the folds that you need to make. This is really useful because if you're just trying to grasp an idea of, okay, how do I start? You can check it on there, but it also showcases that a lot of these are just a couple steps. The most complex puzzle in this game, I believe, is like 8 steps or so. And what I also like about these is it doesn't tell you how to get the little origami collectible pieces. So if you're trying to get one of those, that you have to figure out on your own, which I also really like. So even if you aren't that good at these puzzles and you need help with them, if you want a challenge, you can always go for the origami pieces. I have been during this playthrough been going for all of them and been really enjoying how I'm able to do that and the challenge that comes with it. Sometimes it's a little annoying, but a lot of the time I actually find it easier sometimes than the main puzzle, just because you've already figured out the main puzzle, and then the origami a lot of the time is just on some kind of bridge or something like that. The one piece I like about the origami stuff is it shows you the correct way to get access to it most of the time by the orientation of it. It'll have a little like paper boat spinning around, and the orientation of that's like kind of a hint of like, okay, this needs to be right side up in order for you to get it. So that's a hint there if you're trying to figure out how to get those pieces. But you really go through a lot of wonderful kind of areas, and they're, you know, pretty basic. There's stuff like fall, there's winter, there's like the ocean, there's a city map, there's a ruins map. You're going through these, you know, there's a swamp map. There's a couple of different ones here, and they're all kind of connected to the story that it's trying to tell. And the story's fine, you know, it's nothing crazy, but it is nice and it is voice acted, and so I do kind of enjoy that when it does kind of break up the flow there. But what you're really here for is the puzzles. It's for that artwork, it's moving that stuff, finding it. It's very satisfying sound design as well. You basically just move with the right stick and use any of the shoulder buttons or bumpers to grab and move stuff. And obviously part of the game here is if the controls weren't as good as they are, this would kind of fall apart, but the controls are fantastic. They move really well. They have a good sound and crunch to them. They're very responsive. The little cursor you have here grabs onto things well. It doesn't like linger too much, and so it's a very nice game to kind of go around and, you know, play around with a lot of the time. And that is something that, you know, is a very good point, is that a lot of puzzle games suffer from the fact that they have input lag or latency of some kind, or don't feel as responsive as they should be. This game isn't. On anything you play it, this footage is the Switch footage. It's also available on PC as well as consoles, I believe. It's also available on Apple Arcade and mobile, I'm pretty sure. But it's just really responsive. So I would say if you're playing it, obviously with a controller, I would recommend something like a Switch or mobile. I think is the best platform for this. And it just feels really nice to control, very responsive, very little input lag, all that. And that really allows it to feel very nice to play, very cohesive and all that. And you just really get a very smooth experience all the way through. And I quite enjoyed that about the game. That's not something you can say about a lot of puzzle games. So there's that. The music is also really good, and it's also very cheap is another thing. This game, and I don't know why developers do this, and I think it's probably just to get buy-in. This game was on sale for basically free in the Switch eShop. It was like $2 or $3. It was like $5 on mobile. It's usually $20. It's worth it at any price. It's phenomenal. But the fact that you can get this game for a couple bucks is crazy. It's not that long, but it's also longer than you would expect for a game like this. I 100%ed it in about 10 hours. So it is longer than you would think a game like this is, and it really is just that quality. You can feel it in the way you move the pages, in the way you complete puzzles, and the satisfaction you get of finally getting those origami pieces. Like, it's amazing. And it's something that, like, I am not a huge puzzle game fan, and I'm in love with this game because it's going through these different areas and these different puzzle options quite quickly, right? I played another game, Lost in Play, that was nice, but its issue is it felt like a lot of the puzzles weren't very organic to the environment. This game feels like the puzzles are very organic. It feels like, oh, you're in the autumn, like a forest kind of zone, and it's like autumn. So, of course, there's going to be sticks and leaves you have to go around. You're in a rainforest, so now you have to deal with ladders and chutes and houses and things, right? Everything fits thematically very well, and that's not something you can also say for a lot of puzzle games that kind of just place puzzles around the world. Everything here kind of fits. It makes sense. You have bridges in certain homier areas. It makes sense that in the ocean map, you're going to have a lot of docks and moving things like that, ships. And so everything here just thematically fits very well. And so as you're folding, as you're doing this, you're just engrossed into the feeling that this puzzle game has. And a lot of puzzle games don't do that. I'm playing the Talos Principles as well, and while it is a very good game, a lot of the atmosphere really has to be built around its architecture and not so much its place in the world, right? Like, I think that game is something that's a little bit too big at times for what it's trying to do. This game isn't that. Paper Trail is really one that you can take your time with, you can enjoy it in how you're doing it, and it's just a very cohesive experience that I highly recommend. So you should definitely check it out. The pros, fantastic art style, great music, it runs really well and controls excellently. It's a very fun, interesting puzzle game with some easier elements as well as some harder elements. In terms of cons, it's a little bit short. You can beat it in about 7 hours, do a completionist run in 10. And the other thing is some of the puzzles can get a little annoying in terms of like how many times you have to go forward and backward on a thing. So there'll be one where you have to like move a statue, but in order to do that, you have to like move a statue, then go all the way around, and then move a statue back, all the way around, move a statue forward, right? There's a couple of those where it's a little bit tedious to have to go back and forth to do the thing, but there's not that many of those, and they aren't for too long. It's not like you have to do an entire level of that or anything. But those are basically just the two cons, is it's a little short and some of the puzzles can be a little bit tedious, but overall, I would highly recommend the game, and you should absolutely check it out. Once again, it's available on Switch, PC, and consoles, as well as Apple Arcade. I believe it's also on the Netflix app for mobile, and it's about $5 there on mobile and $20 for full price, but it's frequently on sale for about $3 or $4. So yeah, I highly recommend that. If you enjoyed these and want to see other game highlights, subscribe to the MacGabs Gaming channel for just gems. You can check out reviews, Master Review Gaming. You can check out my main channel for tech reviews for Master Reviews, as well as highlights and tech news and that kind of stuff over there. And subscribe to both channels if you like the content, and I'll see everyone in the next video.